Faker is a Python package that helps us generate fake data for our database. This is a really interesting tool because we can generate data in multiple languages. And not only that, we can also import our own data into Faker so we can then utilize it in our project or other projects in the future. So just to take you through the steps that we're going to follow in this tutorial, we're going to be utilizing Faker in Django. So we'll go ahead and set up Faker with Django, and then we'll create some data. I'll take you through what is known as providers in Faker. So there's different types of data that we can extract and include in our database. Generate and include in our database. So we'll have a quick look at Faker Localization. So you'll be able to change the language of the data that is being automatically generated. So at this point, we'll build a custom provider. So we'll go through the process of creating a simple list that we can then use within Faker to generate some data for our database. And finally, we will put all this together and create a Django custom management command, which will then automatically generate data and insert that data into our database. So when would you use Faker? So Faker provides us a way of automatically generating data for our database. This can be really useful and save us a little bit of time, maybe at the start of the project, when we want to provide or create some data for our databases when we're developing our application. We may also use this type of tool to generate large quantities of data so that we could, for example, test our application. And also this type of tool might be useful to auto-generate data for our test databases. The long-term approach here might be eventually we move to fixtures. So Django Fixtures. This is the idea of a collection of pre-created data that Django knows how to import into the database. This is a slightly different technique, and I'll cover this in a later tutorial, how we can use fixtures to add data to our database. So I guess this is kind of a two-step or maybe a two-stage thing. So first of all, we start off with Faker. We auto-generate some data into our database. Cool. Eventually, we get to a point where our application matures, and we want a fixed set of data that we know that we can utilize and import into our databases when we recreate our application in maybe different environments, for example. So as per normal, I'm linking you to the Django documentation. This is providing initial data for models. This page here is going to explain a little bit more about providing data fixtures and how you can potentially create these fixtures to then import into your database. So let's go ahead and pip install Faker. That's the first step. So these project files are available for download in the description. So once you've downloaded, set up a new virtual environment, run the requirements text, and then you should be set to go from there. So pip install Faker. So I've already installed it, so it's going to look slightly different potentially to yours. So that's installed. So now what we need to do is we're going to create a management command. Okay, so if we go into, for example, one of our applications, so here we have an app here called store. So inside of store, we're going to create a management command. So a management command is basically when we run manage.py, we then run a command after this. So this is a management command. So we're going to build our own custom management command here. So inside of store, I've created a new folder. So this is following the Django protocol. We're going to need a folder called management. Inside of there, we create a new folder called commands. So this store is an application, so you can put it into your application, whatever it's called. Management folder, commands folder. Okay, so inside of here, I've created a file called create data. This command is going to be called create data. So your command that you type in, your management command, is going to be named after the file name in your commands folder. So let's just get this working to begin with. So I've created this file here inside the commands. It's called create data. So in order for us to actually run a management command, if you're not familiar with this, we're going to need to import the base command so we can extend from there and create some commands. So we'll create a new class then. We'll call this base command. So extend from base command. And now what we need to do, if we want to actually run a command, well, first thing that we can do is we can add some help information. So if we wanted to set up the help info for our command, so just some command information, so we can run that on our command. So in order for us to run a command, we're going to need to put this in the handle function. Okay, so here we're just going to take in self. Let's just set this up, args. So if you're not too sure what args and quarks are, I do have a tutorial where I run through exactly what they are in basic terms. So check that out in the YouTube channel. So that sets up our function. So let's just go ahead and print something out. So there we go. So we're just going to print this out. So when we run this command, the create data command, this is going to run. So let's just try this out. So create data, that's the name of our file, it's the name of our command. And there we go. So we're just outputting this. So we can clearly see now our command is working. So with the Faker installed, or the Faker tool application package installed, let's go ahead now and initiate Faker. So in order for us to start utilizing Faker, first of all, we need to kind of initiate it. So let's call this fake equals Faker. Of course, we're going to need to bring this in. Faker. So we're going to need to bring this into our project. So up the top here, let's import Faker. So from Faker, import Faker. There we go. So that brings it into our project. So let's go back down here. So we've initiated Faker in Fake. Right. So the first thing we're going to do then is just create some simple data. So let's go ahead and do that. So for example, if I wanted to create, we're going to use the print to print out. So if I wanted to create some fake data, so I extend from fake. So what data do I want to generate? I want to generate a name, for example. So let's do that. So I save that. We run the command again. There we go. We have a name. So if I run this again, you can see it's going to generate a different name. It's a random generator of names. So what we can now do, for example, is we can change this up. So address. So let's have a look, see if we can generate an address. Okay. So at this point, you'll want to know what is available, right? So let's head over to the Faker documentation here. So let's go to the home page. So this is the Faker documentation. What we need to have a look through is the standard providers. So providers are essentially lists of information that you might want to collect. So for example, here there's a range of standard providers. So these are the providers that are available once we've installed Faker. So we can get information about the addresses. It's going to allow us to generate different building numbers. So within each provider here, there's different information that we can collect. So we can get the general address. We can drill down a bit further and get the building number. So these are all the information that you might want to collect or store within your database, of course. So there's some generic kind of lists here. Bank, barcodes, currency, jobs, person, phone number, etc. here. So to utilize one of these here, for example, let's just take the internet. So let's just generate some emails, for example. So I just copy this. You get the idea at this point. I'm going to just place it right here. And then you can already see that I've generated an email. So let's just run this. And there we go. So we're just generating emails now. So it's just a case now of looking through the standard providers and maybe finding the information that you need. So let's move on to localized providers. So you can see here, running through this list, these are all the different languages that Faker supports and all the providers, the default providers it offers in those languages. So let's go back into our project and let's think about localization. So let's just change the language. So to do that, we can just specify this within Faker here. So now we need to find a language. So here I am in the localized providers. So I've selected, I think this is Dutch. So we're going to need to provide this information to our program. So here, for example, fake faker, and then I've utilized NL. Okay, so this is going to then specify the language. So let's go ahead now and generate a name. And there we go. So this is a name associated or is written in the specific language that you've selected. So this is quite handy because, for example, if you do have an address, that will also generate an address related to that specific country. So we want to generate some information then for example, our store here. So let's go into our store and our models. So we've got a few models here. We've got one for the category. We've got a product type, a specification, product specification, a product table, and also down the bottom here we've got the image table. So we've got a few tables here. If you're interested in the schematics or the schema of this database, head over to the database schema and documentation. Open this website right here and just copy and paste this code that you saw in that page on the left hand side, and now you can see the tables that I've got set up in this project. So what we want to do is to use Faker to generate some data for this product. Now what we need to be careful of here is, of course, we've got some foreign keys, so we won't be able to build, for example, a product unless you can see the star related to the one here. So this is a foreign key that's connected. So there's a dependency between the category and the product. So when we're building data in our databases, we need to be careful to make sure that we follow the dependencies so that we can actually insert the data in the correct order. Otherwise, this is not going to work. But this is just an example of utilizing Faker rather than a database exercise. So that's the database. So we're going to build some category data first, and then some product data, and then we'll probably go ahead and build some image data too, as well as product type. So in actual fact, the flow is going to be category, then product type, because there's a dependency here. Then we build the product data, and then we build the product image data. So currently then Faker doesn't really provide us any product information. So we're going to need to build our own list here. So let me just take you through the basic steps of extending and building our own provider. So the first step is we're going to import Faker.providers. Okay, so we're going to bring in the Faker providers, and then we're going to extend from there and just add our own list to it, and then we can call that list in. So I am doing it on this page here. I realize we could put this on a separate page. So I'm just going to utilize this whole file for this. So let's build some categories first. So I'm going to create two categories. I pre-created them. So the first category here is just going to be for categories. So this is just general categories that I might want in my database. All right, so obviously I could change the language and do whatever I want here. So in addition to that, I've also got some products. So this is just an example, don't forget, of creating your own providers here. This may not be utilized. You may not actually utilize this in your environment. So this is just an example to learn how to create providers. Right. So now we've got these two lists here. Let's now add them into providers so that we can then utilize them to generate some data. So let's create a new class. We'll call this provider, and we're going to extend from the faker.providers .base provider. Okay, so we'll then extend from that and add our own into this. So we call this ecommerce, because it's for our e-commerce store, e-commerce category. Okay, so that's the function name, and we're going to then return. So we're going to call e-commerce category in order to generate an item from one of our lists here. So first of all, we're going to do the categories. So we just need to now call that in. So what we're returning here is self.random element. Element. And then we're just calling our category. So we're going to get a random item from categories. That's essentially what we're doing there. So let's just create another function here. This is going to be e-commerce products self. So this is a list of different types of products we might have in our database. So these lists are very similar. And you might suggesting, well, they are kind of the same. So I'm just showcasing this. So this is going to be products. There we go. So we now have our new providers. So we created our new providers. So I guess we should test those out to see if it works. So we can do that by just extending here. So let's call, for example, e-commerce products. So it should be a case of just doing that. And let's open up our console and let's run this again. And we seem to have a problem. Okay, so generator object has no attribute e-commerce products. Okay, looks like it's okay. In actual fact, we've missed a step. Okay, so what we need to do, is we need to actually now include this provider. We need to pass this into Fake. So let's do that first. I do apologize. Let's think. We need to add. So Fake dot add. Yes, add provider. Add provider, and then we can name the provider, which is just called provider. That's what we've named it. So now let's give this a go. There we go. So this is being generated, automatically generated from our list. So beauty and, for example, lighting somewhere. There we go. There we go. So we've then generated our own list. So now we're ready to generate some data for our database. So quickly again, we've got our database schema here. So we're going to first of all create data for our category. Now it's always a good idea to create data and test in each table before you go ahead and try and implement all the data in all tables, because of all the different dependencies that you might have in your database. So here we've got a referential integrity linker foreign key from our product table to our category table. So there must be a category, otherwise we can't create a product. So this category field here is linked to the category table. So category is going to need to be generated first. So now it's just a case of identifying what we need. So we're just going to need a name and a slug here. So name and slug, and I think we'll be good to go. So this is how it's going to work. So we're inside the handle. Don't forget we're inside this function handle. So we're going to be working inside of here still. Let's just get right. So for them, so we're going to need to make a loop. So we're going to use the underscore here. So in range, it's going to act like a variable, the underscore. In range. So the range is basically going to describe how much data we want to make. So 15, 20, how much data you want to build. So here I'm just going to specify 15. So then I can go ahead and now use my Faker. So I'm going to just set the data up in D. So I've created this variable called D, and I also want to make unique data. So my category, let's remember my categories, they need to be unique. So I'm not going to make two categories that are the same. So in Fake here, we have a tool called unique. So that's how we're going to then create the data through this unique element. So what's going to happen here is that we're going to be utilizing the e-commerce category. Right, so that's the data that we're going to be utilizing. So my understanding will be this, that we want to create 15 items. Fake is going to basically find all this data and then use unique. So as it runs through this data, it's going to remove that item every time it loops around. So then it doesn't then use that item again. So if we've got 15 items here, for example, if we had 15 items, if it used you in one loop to output that data, it would then remove that, say, and so then it won't be available again when it loops through and adds the next item. So we're going to create the unique e-commerce categories. Now that obviously will limit us to how many categories we can build, because our data here only has, I don't know, 18 items, for example. So that needs to be taken into consideration if you're building your own lists. Right, so now we've got that in place, we can now add that to our database. So up the top here, we're going to need to bring in our database. So from, what was it called? What's our app called? From store. So from store.models, let's import category. We're going to need product. We're going to need product image and product specification, I think it is. Let's see the schematics. Product type. So these are the four tables that I'm going to be working with. So category first. So let's go ahead and have a look at that. Right, so let's bring in our product table. Now we want to basically just, we're basically just going to insert data into the database here. So like you would do in Django, category.objects, and then create. And then basically we want to insert the name into the category, and that name is going to equal whatever the random item is in D every time we loop round this for loop here. And there we go. So that will hopefully add now data into our database. Now we do have a slug, so we can also put that same data in the slug. So we need to be careful here. Remember, a slug needs to be fit some parameters here, so we can't use a space in a slug. So here, for example, if I had health, personal care, and I wanted to use this list, it wouldn't work, because in order to make a slug, an addressable kind of link, I'm going to need to use an underscore or a hyphen there, sorry, in order to build this slug. So just be careful and make sure you understand your data before you start inserting information into it. Or should I say, make sure you understand the field and the parameters of that field before you insert data into it. Right, so let's give this a go. Now, I have no idea where this database is, so it's always best, I think, to just remove the database to make sure it's not turned on. And then I know that I've got my store. Inside of my store, I've got my migration, so I just delete that. So like I said, I have no idea where this system is right now, so it's just easy to go through store and then the orders, in my case, and then account. Just remove all the migrations. So not the folders, just the migration files. And once I've done that, I'm now in a position where potentially I can test this. So let's go ahead and py and make migrations. So that's going to build all my tables. And then I can go ahead and migrate. There we go. So now my tables are ready for me to insert my data. So what I want to do now is insert this data here. So let's just find that command, manage by create data. So let's give that a go. And there we go. It looks like it's working. So we can, if we wanted to, create a management command, an outcome, or we could make a string output. So when this command finishes, it says, well done, you've added data to it. But if there's no problems occurring here, if it doesn't indicate there's a problem, it's going to be working. Okay, so I've just gone ahead and just built this piece of code here. So we're going to basically now just check the category. We're going to count it. So we're going to now run that command again, go through the process again. This time we're going to check the category and by counting all the items that are in a category after we've added items. And then we're just going to output that into our command prompt here, or into, sorry, our terminal. So if you want to know how to do that, I've just quickly created that for you. And that will be how to kind of write that out to the command prompt once you finish running the command here. So don't forget the S on the object. So I've gone ahead and I'll go ahead now and delete the database just to clear that. So the initial, so let's get rid of the initial migrations and let's just go through the process again, make migrations. We're gonna, can't do that yet. We need to migrate. And then let's run the command again. There we go, number of categories 15. So you can see that we've now entered or inserted data, random data into our database. So at this point, you probably get the idea, but I will continue now and just finish this off. So next thing is in product type. So here I'm just going to need a name for this. So let's go ahead and do that. So I just paste this in. So it's the same type of process. So for, and then the range again. And this time I'm going to be utilizing the e-commerce products. So there's a different list here that we created at the top. And so I'm going to be utilizing that this time. And then same process again. This time I just need the name. So I go ahead and just insert the name. Cool. Right, so now we get down to the product. So we'll just assume that that works. I won't go ahead and create a management command. You kind of get the idea now. So we just need to check, in this case, this table here. So it's just a case of copying and pasting this and changing the names of the table that you want to check. So now we can go ahead and deal with the products table. So line by line then, this is a little bit trickier. So there's a number of things happening here. So we're going to create the same amount of data again. So here I'm going to use text. So here I've specified the amount of characters I might want to return, so up to maximum of 30. So it's going to generate a number of different characters, or a string there essentially in this fake text. So we set that up, and then here I'm going to create a random integer, and then in addition to that, again, I'm just going to create another random integer here, just because I can. And then we'll go ahead now and add some data to our products. So here we're going to add in our product type. So here we've added the product types up here. So let's remember that after we've added product types, this is going to have an ID of 1 to say 15. All right, so what we're doing here is we're generating a number that matches the IDs that you're going to find here in this data. So because I'm making a foreign key here, this data here needs to exist up here. So I'm basically connecting to that within this table here via the product ID foreign key. So this number here needs to match an ID that's inside of our product type database, or table, sorry. So same thing again with category, and we've made categories up here. They will all have their own IDs, unique identifiers. So we need to, again, generate numbers that matches the IDs that are inside of this table. So we do that, and then we get the title. So we're just going to have a random text for that. That's up here. So I'm referring to the variable PT. And then description. So here I'm going to be utilizing a larger set of characters, and then a regular price. So here I'm going to now create a random number. I'm using uniform here because what I want to do is a random number between 50.99 and 9.99 in order to generate that decimal that I want to store in my database. And then we've got the discount price, similar type of process. So I am bringing in random here. That's from the core Python library. So I'm going to need to bring that in very quickly. So let's import random. So we're going to need that. So just do that. And now we can then utilize that. So one thing that's missing here is the slug. So it might be that you don't want to generate a slug from the list, because like I said earlier, in order to generate a slug, we can't have spaces. We can't have, for example, special symbols like and, for example. So we need to be careful. So what we can do is if we go into the model, so we're in the store, let's go to our models. For example, here we've got the product image, product specification. In our product here, we've got this slug here. So what we can do is we can auto generate the slug. So let's make a function here to do that. So you can already see it. We've got this function here called save. So we're going to basically, before saving any product, we're going to slugify or create a slug, the slug field, from the title. So we're going to get the title, we're going to slugify it, which means we're going to generate a usable string that can be utilized inside of a URL. And then we're going to then basically save it inside the slug field. So this is the slug field up here. So when we save an item, we're going to get the title, then we're going to slugify it and put it into slug. Now we are using slugify, so at the top here, we're going to need to import slugify in order for us to do that. So that's just going to auto-generate slugs for us. So in my particular case, the last step will be to just generate the items for my images, for the images. So here, notice I use a range of 1 to 16 because I don't want to use 0. So I want 15 items. So here I'm going to go into the product image, and I'm basically just creating, you can see a product ID is going to be one of these items. So I've got a product ID foreign key to the product table. So basically I want to loop through and connect for each, basically I'm making a loop here, which is going to run from 1 to 15, right? So when it loops through once, the number, which is going to be in I, is going to be inserted here. So product ID 1, and then I'm going to create some false text for fake text, sorry, for the alt text, and is feature is going to be true because I want to turn the feature is feature on in order for us to show the image. I've also, yeah, that's all we need here. So in our table, we've already generated if we go into the table down here, we've already generated in our product image. We've linked to the default image. So our default image is here already set. So I don't need to add anything else there. So that's pretty much it really. So I'm now going to create some data. I'm going to run the whole thing and populate my database with data. So for the final time then, I'm just going to remove all the initial migrations. There we go. And now I can go ahead and run this out. So clear that. So make migrations, migrate, and then create data. There we go. So let's go ahead and have a look to see if it's actually included. So yeah, I run my server and let's have a look. And here we go. So I've created all this data. Also I could create more now if I wanted to. So let's have a look. You can see that I've got the basic information that I need in order to run this. Now I am running, looks like in Dutch here, so you need to change the language providers to suit, but there we go. So I've got some data. You can see now I've got all my categories here, so I can go into different categories depending if I've got any information or if any of the products are connected to those categories, depends on whether they show up. And that's Faker. So hopefully that was useful. So thank you very much for listening. Hopefully it gives you a general idea now how to use Faker. So we've set up Faker, we've created some data providers, we've looked at localization, we've created a custom provider, and then we've also then created a custom management command to run our Faker, so to generate data for our database.